Drones, and more drones. This is the news coming from United States since the past 3 days. Press briefing given by the Information Department of the Pentagon just came up with a very small explanation to this. They're saying there is no threat.
It is a sazish or conspiracy of China or Iran
Mothership
or
from
Russia or three of them. Or Vice Admiral said many of the purported drone sightings are actually lawfully operated manned aircraft and that there is no evidence of a national security or public safety threat. How can he be so sure?
Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to the TFT Perspective. Drones, and more drones. This is the news coming from United States since the past 3 days. There is unusual activity all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast, and there are so many conspiracy theories coming up in social media that you can't even believe it. But somehow there is some truth to those conspiracy theories as well. So, what has happened in these past 3 days? People were complaining that mostly at night there are like surveillance drones, different kind of drones, basically operating in different regions, and they're different shaped as well. And starting from New Jersey to Colorado to even places like Louisiana. Even air traffic control has been coming up and saying in different airports that there is constant UAV activity in the surrounding regions. This is also causing a perplexing situation in the United States, especially for planes that are flying at a high altitude. The press briefing given by the Information Department of the Pentagon just came up with a very small explanation to this. They're saying there is no threat regarding this issue, but they have also said that they are not military drones. And in another news, a lot of people are saying that around 17 military bases of the US are also being surveyed by these drones. So how come they're not military? How come such drones can be hovering around in over military bases in different sensitive locations? And some people have also complained that the drones are also spraying radioactive material in order to check something. Few important conspiracy theories that came up out of this entire fiasco were: number one, that somehow either from America or Europe, our nuclear warhead is being missing, reported inside United States, that might be used up against America or in Russia to ignite World War III. Or some people are also suggesting that this is going to create an emergency like situation so that martial law or emergency can be declared inside United States and Trump cannot be made president. Further, we are going to also discuss that how things unfolded and whether the government is sponsoring this entire issue at hand. Another important thing that came out of this, a Republican representative, a senator, actually came up and said that the Iranians have launched a mothership flying from the east coast going to the west coast. It's carrying millions of drones, and this is coming from that. So a lot of absurd things coming from this situation. But this is the news coming from the United States, not Syria, not Gaza, not Russia, but drones everywhere. Drones and drones, so many places. To discuss this issue, we have with us Mr. Vakar Kirkori. Sir, a lot of people are suggesting that this is a conspiracy, nothing wrong about it, and somehow they're interconnecting it with the government trying to, put up in motion another move in order to secure their borders or they secure their air. But a lot of interesting things are also coming up, especially this, false flag nuclear warhead theory. Drones flying over the grid lines, getting stuck in them as well. And a lot of people are saying, why only at night? Why not during the day?
I think there are very interesting explanations. So three types of explanations are coming up. So we'll group it as we've already mentioned. One is the extreme conspiracy theory, but maybe there is some element of truth because in post-truth, even a fact can be turned into conspiracy, and a conspiracy can be turned into a fact. The other is, let's say, what's been the government version, and there is also a hearing taking place. Maybe they are going to amend certain laws, so maybe there is some weight to that. We'll discuss and I think all nations should be worried because drone technology is now advanced. During that hearing, there was mention of Ukraine, Russia war, and how drones have been used and really changed the landscape. So definitely there could be a threat to domestic security of any country. And then I would say comes the political twisting. Definitely Trump camp, which is waiting very eagerly for 20th January, and his inauguration, would like to definitely exploit it, and the other side would try to deny it. So there are, I think, three types of grouping. Now within that, uh, people have actually witnessed it. If you look at TikTok and especially US social media, and I think this is now
A
the
lot of
latest.
people have shot down the drones as well.
Yeah, and the government was saying that don't shoot it down because debris would fall. So there are reports of dancing drones, or a combination of drones, and they are making some patterns. So they've been declared as dancing drones. Then there are, as you mentioned, spraying chemicals or radioactive material, and this is linked to whether they are trying to detect something, or they are trying to kill rats, or they are trying to detect the stolen atom bomb of
Yeah.
America or nuclear warhead. And then, of course, the other conspiracy theories, it is a sazish or conspiracy of China
Hmm.
or Iran
Mothership
or
from Iran.
Russia or three of them.
Hmm.
Just like Indian media felt that Bangladesh revolution was basically a sazish. So there is some credence. Now, coming to China, I'd like to just expand that in January 2023 and February, there was a Chinese balloon, or maybe there were two balloons, which flew from, actually it crossed, the Pacific. It passed over about 5, 6 countries, then entire continental US, and then it was shot down
By an X-35.
by an F-35. And this was when it was almost about to cross the eastern coast. And the reason given was that one, it was harmless. Later on, I think it was detected, as per the American media or their, let's say, military analysts, that it carried certain spying instruments, it had antennas, all that. But there were a lot of questions raised on American, so-called military number one agency, CIA, and the investigating agencies. Of course, CIA comes into play. Mainly, they are looking outside. But when something is linked to a hostile power inside continental US, then they come into play. But then you have investigating agency like FBI, NIA, and Department of Homeland Security has, I don't know, plethora of. So this is another theory. As far as there is a foreign, there comes the mothership, and I don't know, when they say millions of drones, does Iran have the capability? On one side, we are seeing that Iranians are worried about Middle East, and now you have Iran so much emboldened, and this ship couldn't be spotted.
Mm.
In
From the East Coast,
East Coast.
this is just throwing away drones everywhere.
Yeah, there is also a debate going on that probably it's a way to curb, because this is also comes in freedom of action or freedom of, let's say, work. Because drones, if you look at, they are being used for delivery of books, for delivery of pizzas, for delivery of drugs, and then medicine. Then, of course, we are not talking of flying taxis coming up. Like in UAE, they are, I think, they have already launched. And then you have for surveys, engineers, miners, geological surveys, agriculture, you name any, I think, department or sector, the drones are there. So are they going to, and then there are hobby drones, and then there are something related to entertainment, tourism, so you name it. And people are saying that most probably the deep state now wants to control it. And we'll come to that, how the control measures were employed. And New Jersey has been, I think, one of the areas. I'll just highlight that what are the states which are affected so far. In last couple of days, from West Coast you have California and Nevada, and the East Coast you have New York, starting from top. Then you have Pennsylvania, famous Pennsylvania, which decided, impacted the elections. Virginia.
North Carolina, there is reports
Yeah,
regarding
there
that
are
as
also New Jersey, then of course DC is included, and then come, I think, Connecticut. So all told, these are 8 or 9 states. And as you mentioned, they are operating on West Coast. And now within that, it's very interesting. What are the areas they are looking at? Like if you come to the northeast coast, so one is Langley,
well.
CIA's headquarter, and famous Langley Air Base, whom normally even the president flies, and it is considered to be the most sensitive and most guarded place on planet Earth. Okay. Then you have New York City itself. You have Staten Island's You come down to naval weapon station at Earl. Now this is in basically uh, eastern states. Joint base McGuire, Lakehurst. Then of course, basically these are all generally in New Jersey. Then in Philadelphia also there are certain areas. Trenton. One important place is Trump National Golf Club, Bedminster. There is a place. So he was also surveilled. And then comes the Picatinny Arsenal military base uh, south of New York. So it means that a lot of military bases have been surveyed. And the big question is, what is CIA or FBI or even military intelligence doing it, or NIA doing it? And there's a whole Department of Homeland. Have they run out of money? Whatever. So I think this is so far what we have found the areas of focus.
Yeah, this surprising pressure coming from Pentagon wasn't received well by the general audience in America as well. They claim that these are not military drones, and they also said they are not being operated by any hostile agencies. But if they're swarming everywhere, and Americans are very, cautious when it comes to their own privacy, their
Inquisitive
circle,
also.
and very inquisitive.
And they, I think they, a lot
Some
of people
people
believe in-
actually shot drones with fireworks in Florida. It was very, that video was so funny. So, if that's the case, when it comes to the response coming from the government side, that they are not clear themselves. So, are they trying to create panic, or is there a genuine concern that they're not just showing it yet?
I think this is, I would say, not $1 million question, $1 billion
Yeah.
question. Because, as I mentioned earlier, in post-truth, it has become actually very difficult to find the truth. So, it means that you can convert a falsehood or a false flag into a reality, and reality into actually conspiracy theory. So that's why even I think it's very difficult for me to pinpoint. But I just try to dissect into it, and then try to basically peel it off, then see what could be the reason. So I've given you three basically conspiracy theories. Now, why actually? Of course, let's start from that. There's a genuine loss of atom bomb. One of the, let's say, warhead has been lost, or it has been smuggled from Europe to this place. Republicans are, I think, mentioning that probably they're going to be a dirty bomb exploding. So it's a huge false flag before 20th. And if you look at the wars, the pattern in West Asia, in Ukraine, there are certain very strange things happening. So it means that there could be some, they call it basically not only false flag, but black swan operation.
Black swan
Or
operation.
maybe white rhino, that it is now charging. Some of them are saying that you can see it, a black swan is coming, you can't do anything about it. So, but look at the explanation. Like White House National Security Communication Advisor John Kirby, who's a retired admiral
Yeah.
or vice admiral, said many of the purported drone sightings are actually lawfully operated manned aircraft, and that there is no evidence of a national security or public safety threat. How can he be so sure? If people are so frustrated residents.
He mentioned manned aircraft, and that he said that people are making a fuss about it, while the deputy secretary information for Pentagon, Mrs. Singh, she mentioned that then basically actual drones being operated by people in America, not like there is a man operating them in the air.
So imagine the interpretation of manned or unmanned. So who AI is operating it? I think that. So then we come to the next thing is the HR 8610, the Counter UAS Authority Security Safety and Reauthorize. I think we need to also mention, because then we can look at the debate that whether this is the reason. So this law came into effect, I think, 5 years back.
And it's also expiring in 20th December.
20th December. So it means that there is an urgency. I don't know why they created an urgency. Why couldn't they start discussing it, let's say, 3 months back, if it was supposed to come on 20th? And by and large, I think now we have Christmas holidays coming. Entire America goes to sleep till, I think, inauguration of the new president once in a 4 year. So it means that people are now in holiday mood already. Because of combination of Christmas and New Year. Anyways, so this was basically done 5 years back. And there was probably a sunset clause that they would review it after 5 years. And now the new law that is being discussed, the committees are discussing it. Then it will be sent to the Congress. Will be applicable 2028. And this is, I think, a smart way of basically looking at the previous laws, bringing changes and then making them compatible with the time or the technology. Now, illicit drone use in the U.S. is on the rise. This was said by House lawmakers. Want to ensure federal agencies have the power to successfully counter drone threats. Now, when you say UAS,
Mhm.
it is unmanned aircraft system,
System.
and the aircraft means anything which is probably flying, and it is unmanned. So, and there's also, I think, a lot of discussion of UFOs coming
Mhm.
and alien invasion. I think we missed that
Yeah.
conspiracy theory because a lot of people in US believe there are flat earthers also who still feel that Earth is not round but flat. And so basically, they say it is imperative to pass new legislation to ensure current drone counting authorities are extended. So mainly, they are looking at FAA's Reauthorization Act of 2018. So that is also one of the reasons. Now there have also been reports. I'll also go through who all were there in the hearing because there was a rep from FBI, then there was a rep from, let's say, their Coast Guards and Department of Homeland Security. And they were very senior guys. The reports that we could dig out of it, or what appeared through that hearing, was that only on US and Mexican border along the coastline, 45,000 drones activities were detected in 2023, only oriented from Mexico.
Mhm.
And they said most of it didn't cross. So they talk of drug cartels using it for information, for weapons, and for drugs. Maybe it is also one of the major concerns. Then in last 6 weeks, there were almost 7,000 flights of drones.
Mhm.
And the FBI guy said that actually the FBI, which is supposed to be looking at interior of the US for different investigation, doesn't have the capability or the current capability to even actually manage 1% of what is the challenge.
Mm.
Half of 1%, he said. So it means that already it's a huge challenge they recognize. Then there is the issue of funding for, let's say, the program itself. Because if you look at uh, under the law, counter drone authorities were given to the Department of Homeland Security one, and then Department of Justice, and within that comes the FBI.
Mhm.
So these were the two authorities given that now you will be able to do a number of things. Basically, it is to identify, track, mitigate drones. So it also includes neutralizing through non-kinetic or kinetic means. So this was the authority. So definitely there has to be an authority. But if you look at FBI statement, they can't actually do it. So one, the military industrial complex needs now billions of dollars, or they are nincompoop.
Mhm.
They've not been able. And people ask that in case 45,000 drones were detected, how many did you neutralize? And he said, I can't give a figure. The gentleman. Now, who all were there? Um, Basically, if you look at the guys who were there, one was Robert Wheeler, Assistant Director of the FBI Critical Incident Response Group. So
Mm.
probably he heads that group. Then Brad Wiegman, Deputy Assistant Attorney General for National Security from DOG, Department of Justice. Then Kathy Lanier, the Chief Security Officer for National Football League, was also called because they are thinking that, but he didn't turn up. And then I think more important was Keith Jones, Deputy Executive Assistant Commissioner of Customs and Border Protection,
Mm.
Air and Maritime. So mainly those who manage the continental U.S. borders. So those who were hearing definitely included the chairman of that committee, and they identified 4 areas. Let's say for the next let's upgraded law. One is there is an authority gap that current legal framework are insufficient to effectively address the scale and complexity. So challenge has increased. Collaboration between, let's say, federal level, then you have states, how the governors,
Then you have counties.
then you have counties, and of course the agencies.
Mhm.
Technological advancement, and here I think there was a huge mention regarding Ukraine-Russia war, that how it has transformed warfare, and how now this technology can be used for anything inside continental US. Then is balancing security and privacy because there is a lot of hue and cry by the public. So this is that serious part of debate about this entire gambit. That they are now in a hurry to pass a new law till 2028, and maybe this is actually a false flag done by the state itself, the intelligence agencies with so-called elite.
To have a pretext of what's to come.
Yeah, but I think this has been it has created more. And as I mentioned, there were also reports before that U.S. bases in U.K. being surveilled by drone,
Surveyed by
and no
Russia,
explanation
yeah.
came out.
No,
And I think yesterday there was a U.S. base in Germany being surveilled, and now you have in the United States. So all told, I think it's quite a puzzle to really identify. These are some of the points that I have kept, and then we can slightly expand it. What could be to peel off this onion and find out what is inside.
So it's anybody's game, ladies and gentlemen. You can come up with your own conclusions. Number one being world government being formed because of an alien invasion, or a nuclear threat that is apparently real amongst many Americans.
Atom bomb has been lost.
Yeah, it's been lost and it can be used as a dirty bomb anywhere in the world. Or you can come up with the government trying to scare people and create a panic of their own so that they can pass their own resolution regarding their own security framework. So that's it for today, folks. Please do leave a like and subscribe our channel. Thank you so much for watching us. Bye bye.